This week on The Record, scrutiny in St. Louis, how the city is spending federal pandemic cash, why some feel left out of a process that awarded families with political connections first. To the debate stage, we recap heated moments between Lucas Kunce and Josh Hawley and Crystal Quaid and Mike Kehoe, as two of the top jobs in Missouri politics come up for grabs. But first, council wars. What big changes at the St. Louis County Council could mean for Executive Sam Page's political agenda? It's all coming up right now. Welcome to The Record. I'm Mark Maxwell. Big changes are coming to the St. Louis County Council. One member just lost his seat during the primary election. Another incumbent is soon stepping aside, and the shifting power dynamics could set up a series of potential roadblocks for County Executive Sam Page's agenda. The 7-member panel oversees the largest local government body in the state of Missouri, and its chairwoman, Shalonda Webb, is now on the record. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, you recently won your primary election by quite handily, I would say. Ernie Trachis did not. I wonder, the Republican attorney G. Michael Archer toppled Trachis. He'll face off against the Democrat Kevin Shartner there. Can Democrats flip that seat?
I think it's a possibility. It's a lot going on this election season for the general election, and so it's definitely a possibility there. But I take nothing for granted. Like in my primary, even in my general, we have to put the work in. We have to make sure that the voters are informed and they know the difference between how we care for our community and how our opponents.
It's a presidential election year. It's a statewide election year. The governor's on the ballot. There's a big U.S. Senate race. I know you're endorsing Lucas Kunce,
yes,
the Democrat. You're a Democrat in North County there. There's all these big races. Why should voters care about the local county council race? Because
local government is what impacts your day-to-day life. And I know that we all get excited about the general election, the federal election at the presidential level, but it is local government that impacts your day-to-day, your roads being fixed, trees being taken care in your community, issues with food insecurities or derelict properties. That's going to come from your local government.
If they can get it done. We'll get to some of that in a minute.
Yes.
You're also backing Gretchen Banger, the Democrat in District 2. She's coming into this spot where she's expected to win that seat. It's a Democratic stronghold there. But she's coming into this position after openly rebuking Sam Page for allegedly accusing him. She's accusing him of trying to entice her to maybe step out of the race with a government job. Was that an appropriate overture from the county executive?
I can't speak for the county executive. I can speak to knowing Gretchen Banger and knowing her work ethic, knows what she's done for North County and throughout the state. And I believe that she will be a true asset to the county, looking at government officials that are not just there to rubber stamp anything or just go along and get along, but making sure that we're taking care of the business of the people. And so Gretchen and I have worked together for multiple years, again, whether that's working with the fire department or working in our local community together. And I know she brings a great asset to us. A
lot of media scrutiny has been placed on the St. Louis City share of the RAMS money or the American Rescue Plan Act money. But for whatever reason, when media coverage comes to the county, it tends to focus on some of these personality disputes or the conflicts or the differences. And I don't know why you think that is.
Well, unfortunately, focusing on the personality difference distracts from the real issues, because we're handling the same things, making sure that RAMS funds go and helps our community. We are also working on other issues like the ARPA funds to make sure that it's doing a difference in our community. And it's unfortunately that personality conflicts tends to take the headlines, but the business of the council in the county still needs to be taken care of, and we've been focused on that.
I wonder if the public is fully prepared for the shifting power dynamic that could come in St. Louis County at the council. That District 2 seat was held by a Page ally on most issues. That was a reliable vote. Maybe some would call it a rubber stamp. How could that dynamic shift things here? Is the county executive about to lose sort of the trump card or the winning seat at the table, as it were?
The county executive has full ability to work with every member on this council. And so a different person sitting in that seat, it's still up to him to make that relationship and value that person and their contributions in order to move forward with the business of the county. And so purely put that in the lap of the county executive and how he wants to handle these relationships.
Well, all of this is coming at a rather interesting time. There was this disruption, it's kind of an odd disruption recently. County Councilman Dennis Hancock was on the verge of hiring his daughter-in-law for a county job. That's not allowed. But instead of notifying him of that potential breach or conflict, the county prosecutor filed a very speedy motion to have him expelled on the very same day that the county council was going to vote to put a question to voters. That was the last day to do that. He was restored to his seat and able to vote there, but the county council was asking for its own lawyer, separate and apart from the county executive's lawyer. Why should voters care about that?
These situations have not come up just once. It's come up multiple times throughout the history of the council. It came up during my election to the council, where I was, and Councilwoman Days was being sued from the entity that's supposed to support us. And so these type of situations where we have an issue with the county councilors, the lawyers, getting direction, taking up a cause that may be a conflict to either the county executive or the council. And we need this independence. We're trying to get the work of the county and the residents done. And when we have these differences, these conflicts, it keeps us from being able to move forward with the business of the county. And so having an independent attorney for the council is not unique. It is not unique to St. Louis County. Other cities have this, other levels of government has this as well. And so we just want the people to know that we're trying to do their business, and having a separate independent lawyer will be vital to us being able to execute the things that we need to do.
Especially when there are disagreements. I suppose to look at it another way, you know what government could use? More lawyers. But there are real disagreements that rise up, and should you have the same attorney on both sides, there's a conflict.
Yeah, and it puts the attorneys at a disadvantage. You know, they are, the director of the attorneys is appointed by the county executive. And so we understand that there is a struggle there. And we're trying to mitigate that in order for us to go forth and do the business. And all of the 7 council members at one point or another has thought this was a good thing to do. Even the county executive, when he was on the council, he thought it was value added to have separate attorneys for the council.
It's funny how perspective can shift
It definitely
when you're in a
does.
different seat. There are signs of potential conflict on the horizon. Perhaps maybe you can put some answers to some of this today. You recently reopened this ethics committee to investigate allegations that Sam Page works a second job at a hospital. He says he volunteers there, doesn't work there. What are you hoping to find?
I'm hoping to get some resolve on this issue finally, because we have worked to listen to the people. We put this on the ballot. The people said we want the county executive about outside work, that they want their county executive to focus on the county as his full-time employment. And even though it said as it's volunteer, does this volunteering impact him being able to execute the job for the county executive? And so even the way the charging is happening and all of those details, I'm asking this ethics committee to go forth and find us some answers and then bring it back to the people. The people have asked. If you can see the influx of emails in my inbox about this issues and other council members, the people are asking, hey, are you all taking serious what we told you all to do?
Well, when Kim Gardner did this, the city prosecutor, the attorney general filed the quo warranto motion, a legal word for trying to kick her off the job for having outside when she was a nursing student. Is that a possible outcome here?
I don't know. It could be.
Do you know how many hours he spends at this volunteer role?
That is what we want that ethics committee to actually go and find out and get us some resolve on. And
should he hand over his timesheet, or should he be transparent about how many hours a week or a month he spends there?
Why is transparency not a good thing?
I didn't say it wasn't. I'm asking you if you're calling for him to do that.
We're going to ask that ethics committee to go through all of those items to make sure we get some answers on every front.
More importantly, you said that the focus should be on the county job, the government job he was elected for. Is there work the county executive should be doing that, in your view, he's not?
I'm smiling at you right now, Mark, because the first thing that pops into my mind is ARPA, right?
The American Rescue Plan, the federal funds.
Yes, sir. That is something I thought should be a high priority for the county executive, and I believe that the council did all that they should have done 2 years ago, and still we have no complete resolve.
And there are deadlines coming soon.
Very soon. So we have the December 31st, 2024 deadline so that we can meet the obligations of the federal government of appropriating all of those funds.
So big picture items in the few seconds we have left here. If you have about 75% of the RAMS money left, a portion of the American Rescue federal cash left, what are the big priorities that you can tell voters, hey, these are the things we're going to prioritize as we finish doling out these funds?
So first and foremost, with the NFL funding, we have been leveraging those funds to do one-time projects. So from the $40 million that we set aside for subdivision roads and sidewalks, because there's no other funding revenue to do those things, that's a priority for us. In addition to that, on the ARPA funds, we want to make sure that those commitments that we made, that we find a way to adhere to those. And then those that we cannot execute on, that we claw those funds back, find a way to reappropriate those funds and give them additional time. Once we've gone through replacing those, clawing those funds back and making sure that we've adhered to the government obligation, the federal government 12/31/2024 deadline, we can then move on to see how we can put those back in the community.
Look forward to covering all those details as they come forward. She's the chair of the County Council in St. Louis. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Still ahead, they're ready to rumble in the race for the U.S. Senate seat. We take a look at the debate stage in the Missouri's Senate race. Many people remember fondly the busy, bustling days of North St. Louis, north of Delmar, but how much would it cost to fully restore Old North St. Louis? It's becoming very clear that $37 million the city set aside in those American Rescue Plan Act funds is not nearly enough to satisfy everyone. Small business owners feel shortchanged after people with clout and political connections won grant money and they got little or nothing. And after months of delay and rigorous red tape, all the errors and typos and mistakes in that process only added insult to injury. Now the mayor's director of the St. Louis Development Corporation, Neil Richardson, pledges to review all those grant winners to make sure those businesses who did qualify actually qualify and didn't cheat the system either.
We didn't share any of the scoring criteria prior to, but what we did was emphasize the priorities of the program, such as the economic justice index areas, the geography, the community amenity, the community needs. We wanted to make sure that people understand what we were prioritizing, but now how we were individually scoring it.
The Jones administration says it sent a cease and desist letter to at least one consultant in the process and will now launch an internal investigation into how all that federal pandemic cash is being handed out. And this week on Capitol Hill, the House passed a spending bill to dodge a government shutdown that was going to loom Tuesday. This plan funds the government through December 20th. It includes millions of dollars of additional money for the Secret Service to protect the presidential candidates ahead of this election. Only 82 Republicans voted against it. One of them was from Missouri, 3 from Illinois, including Republican Congressman Mike Bost. We're back in a moment. The 2024 election is officially underway. Early and absentee voting now officially open in both Illinois and Missouri. And we got our first taste of debate in 2 key Missouri races about a week ago in Springfield. The Missouri Press Association hosted a candidate forum, and see if you can detect a theme or a strategy in the way Senator Josh Hawley badgered his Democratic challenger Lucas Kunce.
He won't even say who he's going to support in this election. Will it be Kamala Harris or will it be Donald Trump? I'd also love to hear if he's going to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm going to keep track. We haven't heard it yet, but I'm going to ask throughout the debate. I still haven't heard an answer as to who he's voting for. Maybe he likes President Trump's energy policy. He can tell us right now. I'd yield the balance of my time if he wants to answer that. I noticed that Lucas Kunce just mentioned Donald Trump yet again. He's got an ad on TV where he has Trump's name up there and is proud to have worked for Trump. Big bear hug to Trump, big kiss to Trump, but I haven't heard if he's voting for Trump. I haven't heard who he's voting for at all. So he was fussing about time a second ago. I'll yield the rest of mine. Look, I got a lot left. I'll yield the rest of it to Lucas to tell us who he's voting for.
I'll tell you right now, I will work
who are you voting for?
I will work with anyone in the U.S. Senate to bring money back to Missouri,
who are you voting
to
for?
Invest in Missouri.
Hawley clearly wants to make this race a referendum on national politics and try to tie Kunce to national Democrats like Kamala Harris. Kunce, he's running as far to the right as he possibly can, borrowing a page from the John Tester playbook in Montana, pledging to work with Trump if he's elected, even highlighting his work under Trump's administration.
You know, when I was at the Pentagon, I did arms control negotiations. I did counter weapons and mass destruction. I was a Marine stationed there on the Joint Staff, and I actually extended for a year to work in Donald Trump's Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering office. And the reason I did that is because I see our competition with China as one of the greatest threats that we have right now, and I see them getting ahead on literally everything, including energy. We can't let China win this race. Like, we have to get involved. We can't let our big tech companies run rampant. We need to get our hands dirty. As a Marine, I went to the southern border. I trained with the Border Patrol. I was certified by the Border Patrol Tactical Unit. And there's very simple solutions here that we can bring to the cause, right? Like we need to stop the flow of fentanyl. A bipartisan bill that Donald Trump signed, Josh Hawley voted against it. I think remain in Mexico is a fine policy. I think we can have that in place along with ending catch and release. Like the sad thing here is that Josh Hawley has voted against keeping us safe 3 times. It means putting America first in the next generation of energy and manufacturing. He doesn't want to do that because he's owned by oil companies. I think it's gross. It's bad for America. As a U.S. Senator, I will vote to ban share buybacks because what that is that's a transfer of wealth from everyday people upward to a shareholder class that frankly just doesn't need it.
A populist popularity contest in the race for the Senate. They're on the same stage just a few hours before Mike Kehoe and Crystal Quaid sparring over abortion ahead of a major question on the ballot this November.
The law that we have in Missouri right now is the most extreme in the entire country, without exceptions for rape or incest. And I personally have received phone calls from women who have gone to doctor's offices during an active miscarrying situation and sent home being told that they're not close enough to death yet. Our doctors are scared to do their jobs. Over 800 doctors just signed a letter this very week saying that they supported Amendment 3 because they're scared to go to prison to give access to health care.
I have had that conversation about exceptions, and I understand that there's some people that think that we need to work on that. But this law goes way too far. It's very extreme. I think there's a lot of problems in this wording of the ballot where it doesn't provide protections, appropriate protections to women, especially in the case of liability if there's a medical emergency. I just believe this law has gone too far.
Quaid and Kehoe both backed bringing legal sports betting to Missouri, but disagreed on another big question voters will see on their ballot, guaranteeing paid sick leave and raising the minimum wage.
I would not be able to support the minimum wage petition. I believe that government should not be setting wages for people. I think the economy and business should.
You know, we've heard on this stage that minimum wage jobs are entry-level jobs and they're just for kids. The reality is we have so many parents and so many people who are working minimum wage jobs, multiple minimum wage jobs to get by because they can't actually find good quality, high-paying jobs in the state of Missouri. I absolutely support this amendment, but one of the things that I want to elevate for this is the earned sick leave. As a working parent myself, I understand what it means when my kid gets sick and I have to call in and wonder what that means for my job and my security.
And unlike Illinois, where the Constitution requires a flat income tax for everyone, Missouri could cut income taxes for people on the bottom rungs of the ladder, maybe the middle, or could the state slash the income tax altogether? Quaid and Kehoe, the top 2 candidates running for governor, kicked the tires on some new tax cuts, but didn't give many specifics yet.
I don't think a lot of Missourians realize that right now in the state of Missouri that the tax bracket, the top tax bracket, if you make $8,500 a year, you're paying the exact same tax rate as a millionaire.
I believe there should be zero income tax, but you have to do it responsibly. You have to get it to a point where you're not affecting essential services and education.
You wouldn't know it from the stuffy robes and boring Latin phrases, but judges can sometimes be the funniest, smartest people you'll meet. I'm often surprised by what you pick up reading these legal opinions, ironic twists of phrase, a rare pop culture reference here or there, and the occasional wise maxim sprinkled in between the pages of all that tedious precedent. So let's check the record. Missouri Supreme Court Justice Paul Wilson was writing the majority opinion in this particular case, ruling against anti-abortion activists who wanted to kick the abortion question off this November's ballot. But in his ruling, he referred back thousands of years to an old Latin phrase upon which hundreds of years of legal theory and philosophy rest, which basically says the laws aid the vigilant, not those who sleep. That struck me as quite the wake-up call. How often do we look around and think, man, someone should really do something about that, and then just go on about our day? You don't like our laws? You can change them. You don't like injustice? You can do something about it. President Obama distilled it down to just 3 words: don't boo, vote. Before him, a lot of other people attributed a similar quote to Thomas Jefferson, who was actually Andrew Jackson in 1837, who said, "Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty." More than a century later, President John F. Kennedy was speaking to the Canadian Parliament and summoned that same spirit of action.
The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
It's the most eloquent expression about this line of thinking came in the 1850s from abolitionist Frederick Douglass, who said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will." Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you found the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them, and these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows, or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Power concedes nothing, but it hopes you do. If the laws aid the vigilant, not those who sleep, then power hopes you leave that alarm clock on Do Not Disturb. You don't like the people in power? You can throw them out. You don't like the laws we have? You get to hire the people who write them. And in 37 days, you can do the most powerful thing anyone in this country can do: go vote. That's all of our time this week. We'll be back here at the same time next week. Until then, we're off the record.